Welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're asking what I think is a really critical question. Is Mexico reaching a breaking point?
And specifically, a breaking point defined by its youngest generation.
Exactly. I want you to just, picture yourself in Mexico City's Zócalo Plaza. It's the historic heart of the country.
Usually a place for ceremony, for celebration.
But not this time. It's been turned into a battleground. You can practically smell the tear gas, hear the clash of shields and rocks.
And this isn't just another protest. Our sources show this is a huge Gen Z-led movement targeting two massive problems.
Deep-seated corruption and just this pervasive drug violence.
That's right. And the sources you've shared give us this incredible snapshot. We have gripping accounts right from the streets, Mexico City, Guadalajara.
And hard numbers, too, on injuries.
Right, both police and protesters. And then you have these really powerful and conflicting statements coming straight from the president. So our mission today is to get past the headlines.
And really understand the anger here and the political fallout. And we have to start with the scale of it. And honestly, the symbol. It's what makes this whole thing feel so different.
The scale is huge. We're talking thousands of protesters.
In dozens of cities, right? From Tijuana all the way down to Oaxaca.
All over the country. But the visual that just leaps out of the source material is, well, it's unexpected.
It's so unexpected. Why are young Mexican protesters carrying the one-piece pirate flag?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It shows how these global pop culture symbols are being, well, co-opted for real political action.
We see that everywhere now, but this one is so specific, the Jolly Roger of the Straw Hat Pirates.
And according to the sources, it's acting as this powerful, non-traditional banner for the entire youth movement there.
Okay, so that's a deep dive in itself. Why that flag? What does it mean to them?
Well, if you look at the core themes of the show, it almost gives them a ready-made political philosophy, one that sort of transcends the usual left-right politics.
It's about freedom.
The quest for absolute freedom. It's an open rebellion against these established, often corrupt global authorities.
And building a new, more just world. I get that.
So in a country that's struggling with this relentless corruption, carrying that banner, it gives them a potent universal language that a typical political sign just can't match.
It's an instant shorthand for everything they're feeling. It connects their very local, very painful experience to a kind of global sense of injustice.
Yeah.
But okay, symbolism aside, let's get into the core grievances. Because this wasn't some abstract political rally. This was a cry for help.
Absolutely. The sources are really clear on the two things driving this. On one hand, you have that government corruption that just erodes all trust.
And on the other,
the unrelenting drug violence, the kind that claims tens of thousands of lives every single year.
We talk about those numbers a lot, but the human weight of them gets lost. What does that actually mean for a 20-year-old in Mexico City right now?
It means living in constant fear. It means knowing that local security has systematically failed. And it means seeing the people who do try to fight back get left completely undefended.
There's a quote in the source material that it floored me.
Andres Massa, the 29-year-old consultant.
Yeah. He just says, we need more security. That's it.
It cuts right to the heart of it. This isn't about abstract policy for them. It's about survival.
And this recent wave of anger wasn't just, general frustration. It was focused. It was centered around a tragic flashpoint.
The assassination of Mayor Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodriguez.
Tell us about him.
His murder on November 1st was the tipping point. He was the mayor of Uruapan, Michoacan, and he immediately became a martyr for this movement.
Because he was actually doing something?
Exactly. The sources say he was killed specifically because he was leading an active crusade against the drug gangs in his region.
So a politician decides to actually fight back.
And pays the ultimate price. One protester, a real estate agent who actually traveled from Michoacan, said Manzo was killed because he was a man who was sending officers into the mountains to fight delinquents.
He had the guts to confront them.
That's the quote. His death isn't just another statistic. For them, it's proof that fighting corruption is basically a death sentence.
And that's where all that anger becomes laser-focused on the federal government.
Yes.
When protesters got to the National Palace, President Sheinbaum's residence, they were shouting directly at the police there.
What were they saying?
This is how you should have protected Carlos Manzo.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just a stunning indictment. It ties the security crisis directly to the government's inaction.
It connects that local tragedy, this one brave mayor, to a national demand for protection. That's the moment the anger spills onto the streets.
And this political anger, it quickly turned into a very real very violent physical confrontation there at the Zócalo.
And this is where it gets complicated. Because while the motivation was legitimate, the rally itself wasn't entirely peaceful.
Right.
Mexico City's security chief, Pablo Vázquez, his official report says the protest was peaceful for hours until a group of hooded individuals began to commit acts of violence.
So that introduces this immediate question. Was the violence that followed an organic explosion of anger? Or was it, as the chief suggests, a calculated act by a specific group?
The sources just give us the official account. What we know for sure is that things got very volatile very quickly.
Protesters were pelting riot police with rocks.
And the police fought back with shields, batons, tear gas, even fire extinguishers to push the crowds back.
And protesters actually managed to knock down some of the metal fences around the National Palace.
That's a powerful image.
It's an incredibly potent symbol of defiance. But let's look at the human cost. The injury numbers were just staggering.
They were. According to the security chief's report, at least 120 people were hurt in Mexico City alone.
And how does that break down?
Well, the numbers show a real imbalance in the initial count. 100 police officers were injured, with 40 needing hospital treatment.
100 officers? That's a huge number for one protest.
It is. And on the other side, the security chief reported 20 protesters were hurt.
And this wasn't just in Mexico City.
No, we have to remember the context. In Guadalajara, there were also disturbances. 47 people detained there, 13 injured, including 3 police. The unrest was national.
And while all this was happening, this physical battle, there was another kind of attack going on, an attack on press freedom.
This is a really important detail, the incident with Victor Camacho.
Yeah, the photographer for La Jornada.
Okay.
The allegations here are just deeply alarming.
He says the police assaulted him while he was just doing his job covering the rally. His paper reported he was kicked while on the ground, with many of those kicks aimed at his face.
And there was a death threat.
He claims an officer made a direct death threat.
That type of violence, aimed at the press, who are covering the violence. It raises massive questions about accountability, regardless of who threw the first rock.
Absolutely. Because if the press can't report safely, how can the public ever understand what's really happening? It raises questions about the state's whole commitment to transparency in a crisis.
Okay, so to understand the government side, we need to shift to President Claudia Sheinbaum. She's very new in office, just took power in October 2024.
And this is critical. She still has approval ratings above 70%.
Which makes this massive protest focused entirely on security failures a really difficult problem for her.
It is. The country largely supports her, but they are terrified for their safety. And she's faced a lot of criticism over security after several high-profile murders, with Mayor Manzo's being the final straw.
So what was her official response to the violence in the Zócalo?
Swift condemnation. She was visiting Tabasco State and just said very clearly, we say no to violence.
But that's not the whole story, is it?
Not at all. The sources show a really critical political strategy she used before the Saturday rally even happened. She didn't just respond to the violence, she preemptively framed the entire movement.
To suggest it wasn't legitimate.
Exactly. That's the crux of her counter-narratives. She pushed back hard on the idea that this was some organic movement driven by grief.
This is a welfare argument.
It was multi-pronged. First, she accused right-wing opposition parties of trying to infiltrate the Gen Z movement.
And what does infiltrate even mean here? Like co-opting the message?
Co-opting the message, maybe funding it, trying to redirect that public anger for their own political goals. Second, she claimed social media bots were being used to artificially boost the attendance numbers.
So she's saying the outrage is manufactured.
Or at least heavily amplified. And then finally, she went so far as to claim the whole thing is a movement promoted from abroad against the government.
Wow.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture for you, our listener, this just shows how deep the political polarization is in Mexico. Even when you're talking about a crisis everyone agrees on, like security, the immediate response is to accuse your opponents of manipulation.
Of foreign influence. It delegitimizes the protest.
It turns a conversation about public safety into a battle over who is a real protester and who isn't.
And you see that tactic used by governments all over the world when they face these large, unexpected youth movements. You try to disconnect the message from the messenger.
It's a clear strategy. Shift the debate away from your failure to protect citizens and toward the supposed bad intentions of the opposition.
So, after this deep dive, Where does this leave us? I mean, it seems clear Mexico's security crisis is hit a boiling point.
Definitely. And it's being reflected in this really powerful Gen Z engagement symbolized by that one-piece flag.
And the cost of that conflict is just alarmingly high. We see that with the martyrdom of Mayor Manso.
And then the violence that erupted triggers these intense political accusations about foreign influence, about domestic opposition. It becomes a vicious cycle.
So the takeaways are that youth engagement is high, security is dire.
And the government is responding with both force and this very sophisticated political narrative to undermine the whole movement. It's a complex and dangerous situation.
It really is. And so here's a final provocative thought for you to consider. President Sheinbaum has these high approval ratings, yet she's facing this intense, violent anger focused squarely on security after a mayor was killed for doing his job.
Yeah.
So how does the public balance that? How do you square popular support for a leader with this immediate, desperate demand for protection?
And maybe the key is in the way this young generation is using these powerful, non-traditional symbols like that pirate flag to just bypass the old political gatekeepers entirely. It could be a template for future political clashes and something we should all be watching very, very closely.